And we are now back in our regular meeting. So I think there's a lady out there that can come back in. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. All right. So we're going to start with our park dedication and replacement budget discussion.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So I guess I'm probably more a conduit always on this one. Probably any detailed questions will be for Gary and David. As you can see, there was multiple people that put this together. As far as the, probably talk about the park dedication first, and then at the end we'll talk about the page that's in there for the tree replacement fund. The main item that you'll see, and it's briefly discussed in the memo, is the well, multiple things. Like obviously you can see the park dedication fund, the trend on page 3 over the years. It's sort of bounced around the last several years as far as we get some money and we do some projects or whatever. The 2025 you can see would be a decent shift downward in the fund balance based on doing a potential large scale project. Obviously there's the grant that's associated with that, or the grant that's been applied for, that we're waiting to hear from, I guess, in a month or two here. So I guess, yeah, this would be incorporated into the budget, but I think it would be one of those where decisions obviously would be made subsequently based on how that grant came in. I assume that would be something that would be a determination. Right. I don't know, maybe if I just want open it up to council for questions. That's there's some other projects that in there too of smaller scope, but the obviously the Lyle Park one is the biggest one that's in there for capital improvements. Right.
So thank you, Brian. I'm going to make a few comments. First of all, I had asked staff, I think I talked to Nick, or did I talk to you? Either Nick or you, regarding this grant, because I've been wanting to do a splash pad for many, many years. And I asked Nick, and so recently, so this is really cute. This is really, really cute. So recently, I got this letter, and it's from Camden and Harvey, and they write, "Dear Miss Whalen, we are Camden and Harvey Bergman. We live in Minnetrista. We are thinking it would be smart to add a public pool to our town. Here are some reasons. It would be good for kids to get exercise instead of watching TV all day. A pool would be good for kids to make new friends. A public pool would create jobs for local teenagers. And would you consider this idea, Miss Whalen? Thank you, Harvey. Have a good day. Sincerely, Harvey and Camden." It's really cute, but it's kind of on that same vein, and they're from Hunter's Crest. And so I thought, this is really on that same vein of a splash pad. I know Public Works might not be so excited about it. You can't speak, Carrie. So my question to staff was, well, if we get a grant, do we have to use it only for a playground? Could we expand and say it's a playground splash pad area and use it for that? And so that was the question. And then the other thing I was thinking is, as I was talking to Gary, he said that Hunter's Crest HOA, they paid for improvements on the trail all the way from Highway 7 all the way to the Dakota Rail Trail. And I thought, maybe we could approach them and ask them to help fund this, if that's because it's primarily for their neighborhood. Maybe they would be willing to partner with us on this if we get a grant, and there might be other organizations that might be willing to partner. So that was my idea. I would say leave this number in there for now, but I'm just kind of sowing the seed and idea. We don't have to make a decision right now. So that was my spiel for that. The other thing that Gary had made a suggestion on, and I thought it was actually a good idea that we should maybe consider for future years, is actually incorporating trail improvements right into our road improvements. So when we do a road project in a certain area and there's a trail, just automatically just include that in with the project. And then it's just part of the assessments and all of that. So, and then it doesn't come out of our park dedication fund, which is, as you can see, being depleted rather rapidly, and we would still be able to get trails done. I thought that was a really good idea. So if you're kind of on board with that, we could consider that. And then the other thing I talked to him about is replacing the roofs at the Heatherwood Glen Park. What is it called? Perennial Park, and then also at Linden Park. And again, leave it in here for now, but let's get some dollars, find out what it would cost, and if we can, put it off for a year or whatever. If maybe not, I mean, we'll see. But get some dollars for that. So those are my comments.
Any big developments that are coming down the pipe? Just thinking of sources of revenue. No,
Nothing
right now.
intimate, no.
Yeah, that's the other problem. We're trying to, I've been putting in a good word for the 50 acres over there, but
Right.
I haven't.
That Hunter's Pass, as we refer
Right.
to it, I mean, that's what we as staff been waiting for, because that would complete, the park dedication would certainly complete what we need to have done with Lyle Park. So we've kind of been hoping that that would come in and we could finish that park, so.
I've been pitching it to several developers. Okay, I'll keep working on it. Okay, so I think we're good for now, because we can always change. This isn't part of the levy that we do, so we can change the park budget.
If I can, Madam Mayor, just
Sure.
on your pool philosophy there, a couple things to consider is you're talking, extra people now for lifeguards and stuff like that, because you'd have to have lifeguards at the pool. If you put a pool in, I'm saying,
Yeah.
you have to test it.
We're not doing a pool.
No.
Perfect. No splash.
See, we like you better because you like the splash pad better, right?
If you do a splash pad, do not make it a recycle system, just make it a complete drain away.
Okay.
I know it's wasting water, but we could look at maybe even resourcing that water to the holding pond that's there. If it's allowable, we're not certain how that would work, but at least, reuse that water then to
Right.
the irrigation system there at the park.
Yeah.
But if you are going to consider a splash pad, do not make it a recycle.
Okay. It would raise the cost significantly.
Well, then you have to test the water twice a day, every
Oh,
day. So
okay.
even on weekends. So now you'd have more staff time coming in just to run testing
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it's just a lot easier to make it and use it and drain the water away. I say, unfortunately, it wastes a lot of water, but in the long run, you're probably going to be money ahead.
Well, and I don't know if you can put timers on it, so it goes on at a certain time and off, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it would all be that, it would be set up that way. So you'd have a certain amount of time and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So again, we can look into that, but I think also we'd have to find out if we get a grant from Hennepin County, we'd have to find out if, since I think we just applied for a playground, that we'd have to check and see if we incorporated a splash pad, if that would qualify. So those are some things we'll check on. So, all right, next.
Okay, then, I guess just to go to page 23 of the packet quick, the big item that I think Gary, and this was in the August CIP equipment plan, was the aerial lift truck for tree trimming removal, right, Gary, as far as
Yes.
the up to 75,000 there. So that you can see we have about 350,000 in the fund right now. So that would be the big potential purchase in 2025 if city council is good with that. Or
We'd be looking for a used truck. We wouldn't need a brand new one. We'd look for a good used one, something similar to what not so much like a tree company uses, the big ones, but we would just need something more on the scale of what you see, like the smaller Excel trucks or the extreme medias, that type, with the smaller lift buckets that could get us up about 30 feet just to do tree trimming. Right now, we don't have any capability of doing it, and there's a lot of areas that we would love to have that possibility to do.
Where? I'm fine with it. I'm just curious where.
Lotus is one. We'd love to go through Lotus and trim up a lot of that. North Arm was another area that we struggled with. Thank God they came through and we worked out a deal with the contractor that was doing the power line through there. So we kind of gave them some permission to take care, and they took a lot of trees down and stuff there, but there's numerous areas where it's overgrown a lot. The island, Tuxedo and that stuff, really need to get that trimmed back, and it's very tough to do without having that piece of equipment. Pole saw only reaches about 15, 16 feet.
If that,
Yeah, so.
if you're tall. I know, because we have a pole saw. We can't reach that high. Anyhow, all right. So I think we're fine with that.
Okay.
All right. And then are we going to kind of do a quick overview of the total budget?
Yeah, one thing, if we could just sneak this in, is we're looking at adopting our final levy on the 2nd. We thought we'd maybe throw a slide up kind of showing what was approved in September to see if there's anything anybody wants to maybe look at and see moved around. If that's the case, what we would do is we would schedule a work session on the 2nd before. So just, and I can give the update, or Brian, or it's not really an update, but our prelim levy was 9.4%.
9.44.
That was their gross. Yeah, depending which one you're looking at, it's basically 9.4.
Yeah, 9.44. So, which, I think we've gotten some information from surrounding communities. I'd say we're probably right in the middle. There's some that are much higher than us, and some that are like Mound, I think is at 6%. So our net impact is probably right around 6.75, for existing residents with the growth factor. So we're right in that mix. So I'm not sure if there's anything anybody wants to look at in particular. Otherwise, what you'll see is what you have here at the December 2nd meeting.
You know what would be good, I think. So I think what we don't want is we don't want spikes and then down and then spikes and then down. It'd be better if you had a more level, you know what I'm saying? So every year you had 8, 9, 7, somewhere in that range kind of thing versus 9 and then all of a sudden 13 or whatever. So I don't know if you can put together a potential or a possibility, because what I was thinking is if we could cut out maybe, rather than increasing the CIP, I think we're levying about 150,000 right now for CIP.
Or 200.
200.
Yep, yeah,
So
right, 150 for this year.
for this year, what I'm saying, rather than increasing it, just do another 150 for next year. So that would bring the levy down to about 8.75, something like around there. Which to me is just nice because we're showing our residents that we're trying to really be careful about how we're spending their money. We'd be right in there with most of the cities. Some of them are a little lower, some of them are a lot higher. But it would also be showing that we have the preliminary, and now we really are pinching pennies and going down just a little bit. That's just one idea, but I would like to see what 26 would look like, or 27, because if we went down to 8.75, but then in 26 we had to go up to 11.
We will if we do the fire.
So that's what I'd like to kind of see. Where are we at then?
That must be nice to keep. I mean, we've been, I know, trying for years, I think, to get the capital equipment.
Yeah, I really don't.
I know.
Yeah,
No.
I think, yeah, the only.
I know, it's just an idea. I don't really want to have it go down either because it's cash. But, at what point do we stop increasing the CIP too? I mean, that's the other question. But, and I know we're talking fire partnership potentially. And if that comes in, we're probably going to see a bump there. And then I don't think we have any other huge expenses in 26, but.
In 26, we're looking at, it won't hit until 27, but if we do a major street reconstruction project or construction project, that would be a 27 hit, but we talk about it in 26. From a personnel standpoint, 27 is the contract year. So depending on what the market's doing for like police and public works,
Right.
We might,
But that would be for 28.
They would actually hit in 27.
Oh, 27.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So 26, maybe a little bit of pressure there with the fire partnership. Not much with personnel, I don't think. I think that's pretty level. But then 27, you might see a personnel hit.
Right.
And the only probably context I'd want to give a little, if you look at in their data's out there on the state, website, Department of Revenue and Hennepin County and stuff, but our levy over the years has been less than Mound and Orono's and stuff. So
Yeah.
we're almost increasing a little bit to try to, there's market pressures.
There's market. Last year we increased it because of, staffing
Yep,
needs
yep.
and pay and so on.
To me, I think we're in a better place than some of these other cities. Yes, we might be doing, 9 or 12 versus someone might have been 6 or 9, but that's because their baseline already was higher and we're growing faster than a lot of these, or at least at least.
No,
Yep.
I'm not saying that I understand why we're doing this. I'm just saying it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, in my mind, 10 is a good baseline for all the stuff that's going on. It's unfortunate, I think a lot of people are used to that 5 or lower,
Right.
there was years and years of that. But because of just a lot of the stuff that's going on and we're really tackling roads and, water's a little
Water is
different, but,
yeah.
and personnel, there's been some changes there. So, I think that's what you're going to see, I think if we
Right.
kind of strive for that baseline, and then we can kind of move up or down from there, up, a couple percentage points, depending on what you guys want to do.
Yeah, I think we leave it, and then if we want to hold it for next year at the 200,000, then that'll be easier in case we need the extra money for equipment.
And we will,
Yeah.
I know the original, I think statements got mailed out there online for the TNT. I've had, I think, one person with a couple of general questions in an email, but no one's really said too much so far. Just as far as just giving feedback.
I might come this year.
They're going to shop for your property. That's probably Kevin Wing maybe, or no.
I'm gonna have to have a talk with Kevin.
Mine went down, my home value.
My home value went up, but not just this year, last year too. I had a huge jump. I had but primarily Hennepin County.
Mhm.
The city wasn't so bad. So anyhow, comments?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I just want to make sure we don't, cut into our reserve, because it's
Yeah.
right kind of on the edge there. So
Fund balance.
Right.
Yeah, to Brian's point is some of these other cities that are similar in size have a larger levy. So their 6% is our 9%. And because we kind of went backwards a little bit when we were following the tax rates and, so once we get up, a 6% will be enough, not quite like Minnetonka. I was talking to the Minnetonka manager and they're hiring like 12 police officers and,
Where are they getting 12
I
officers? We just want one. We just want one.
but
Different standards.
But they can do all that with a 5% levy increase because they have a $50 million levy.
Right.
So, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think, it's a good baseline. I think that's what the expectation should be moving forward unless there's some changes in the markets.
Claudia, any?
No.
You're good? Okay. So then a question, if this stays, do we need to have a work session? Do we need to bring it up at a work session on December 2nd?
No?
Okay.
Probably wouldn't need to as long as council is good and the fee schedule, the budgets will all be there. But almost all those things, or if not, have been talked about, the utility rates and stuff. So
Okay.
as long as there's no other questions or
Well,
comments for.
we haven't finished
Oh.
with.
Well,
uh,
okay.
Can we go back to the parks just for one sec?
Sure.
Can we add a basketball court in Woodland Cove since we took away the ball field? Because of our water treatment plant? Maybe.
At the new park?
Gonna add more money.
In the park?
Over by the pickleball courts?
Can look at
I mean,
it, suppose,
we could probably, there's room. It depends on when or how much and
What size?
I don't
Well,
play basketball.
a basketball, I don't.
Been asking for 9 years to get one in there, and since we took the ballparks, those people might be happy if there's a basketball hoop for their kids. to go play.
I've actually seen a pickleball court that's doubled as a basketball court.
That's the G and Lanier.
Oh,
Well, our courts double,
Yeah.
everything doubles up. Our basketball courts have pickleball striping and our tennis courts have pickleball. We double everything up. So,
Yeah.
but we can
But a
look at,
separate, because there's a lot of people who specifically want the pickleball courts
Yeah,
and use them all
right.
the time, so a separate basketball court.
we can look in that and there should be an area, I would assume that we can
Throw one in there.
look for something in there.
I'm sure there's space.
Well, there's space, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a matter of cost and when. So, okay.
It won't be $300,000.
I bet- Let's hope not. All right. Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. so next is our Gillespie Center funding request discussion. I'll give that to Jasper.
I think we're actually going to do the
Commitment to.
I'm sorry.
recognition policy.
I'm sorry. Next, you're next. Commitment to service recognition policy. I had a
Yeah,
couple. Yep.
thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. What kind of spurred this discussion was a couple different things. We have a long-term employee retiring pretty soon, and I think that I had a couple council members ask me, well, what can we do, to celebrate this long-term person? I'm looking at Paul, and their commitment to their service here in Minnetrista. So I reached out to Sarah and asked her if she had some policies that are legal and that have been adopted in other cities. So that was kind of the template that you see here. So there's 4 major sections in this: purpose and intent. It kind of describes where in state statute we're allowed to do this. So that's in there. This is a lot of, objectives are to increase morale and employee motivation, encourage loyalty and long-term retention of employees, and to celebrate the accomplishments in service of retiring employees. So that's the basic intent of this, right? And we do some things already that should be written down in policy, like when there's a funeral or we send flowers, stuff like that. It's good to get that in policy so that we can expend funds on those. So there's 3 basic sections in here. So service anniversary awards. So there's the first section in here, every 5 years, a certificate should be presented to somebody who has their 5-year anniversary at city council. So they'll make them show up here, and the mayor and the city council can thank them for their services. They would get a suitable gift card for this purpose of $100. So every 5 years they'd get a $100 gift card. It's not much, but
Who does not want to show off?
yeah, so it's just something to show our gratitude. And then, yes, they will come to the city council meeting. So we wouldn't do anything retroactively. If this is adopted, we would just start moving forward. So somebody like Brian wouldn't be able to come and collect a bunch of gift cards.
No, you you don't get multiple gift cards.
So that's the service anniversary award section. There's a
okay.
Go ahead.
Never mind. Go ahead. This next one.
Yeah. So the retirement recognition. So this is saying that if you retire from the city, per para guidelines, so you can't just say you're retiring and then go get a job somewhere else. You have to actually retire.
Well, but so here was my thing.
Yeah.
Let's just say somebody is, okay, this isn't the case because I know Craig is going to step into Paul's shoes, but let's just say we hired a police chief and she is 50 years old, and that they can retire at 55. And that police chief then decides to retire at 55. They've only been here 5 years. So I think we should have some kind of a time frame. I don't think it's fair for somebody that's been here 5 years to receive the same recognition of somebody like Paul that's been here, how many, 30?
31.
Yeah, 31 years. So I'm just saying we should have, so the recognition I think should be if they're here retire, some sort of number of years.
Maybe greater than 10 years.
More than 10 years employed.
Yeah.
I think.
I think it's, is that okay?
I think it is. You can have a tiered system too. I've seen that where,
No,
but
that's
I think
too
10 years
complicated.
10 years is a good amount of time.
If they've been here 10 years or more and then they retire,
Yep.
then we do this. Is that?
Yeah.
Claudia?
5 years. 25 years, 31 is a lot more than 10.
Yeah, I know.
I think it should really be exponentially, that's a big deal.
So do you want to make it more than 10?
I did, well, I think the gift for 25 years plus should be more than a 10-year. 10-year, big deal, 10 years. 31, that's huge. 25 and up, I think should be.
Okay.
We could do two. We could do
I don't know
two.
what's legal, but.
Okay, so it could be 2-tiered then.
Yes.
So if they've been here 10 years or more, or 10 years to 24, if you will, they get 300. If it's more than that, they get 500.
Something like
Would that be okay?
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay.
I'm seeing some nods for that, so I
All
see
right.
Sarah taking some notes as well. I think that's probably allowed.
Okay.
I see a slight nod.
Slight nod.
And then for a retiree, this would allow us to spend up to $500 for the cost of refreshment, venue costs, light snacks at the reception. So I anticipate, like with Paul's retirement, we could contribute to that up to $500. There'll be presentation at City Council, certificate that would be presented at that time. If an employee chooses not to participate, they don't get any
yeah.
of the money or anything like that. That's just clear. And it is for para. Retirement is the definition by para.
Okay.
So you have to retire per para standards. The fourth section, other recognition programs. So this is where those flowers, memorials, other hospitalization gifts, not to exceed $100.
Can you get nice flowers for $100?
Yeah. But here's my take on this. I think memorials, that's good. One rose. No. That's nice. But so here's my take on this. For hospitalizations, oh my gosh, we could be going bankrupt if we did that. So I would say send a card. If you're in the hospital, a card is great, okay? But I think we need to specify what memorials, okay? And I think if it's a sitting council member or a sitting council member's spouse or a planning commissioner, sitting planning commissioner, et cetera, maybe, or their spouse, or staff or a spouse, or maybe immediate family of staff or council members. I think you have to kind of limit it, because if now all of a sudden you say, what about planning commissioner's mother-in-law died? You have to kind of have some parameters around this. So
it does just say city employee council. You want to expand it?
Well, I'm thinking, what if Jasper's mother dies? Sorry, hopefully she doesn't. But I mean, wouldn't we want to send flowers? I mean, no. Employee and spouse?
A little context, we have in the past.
And it's very,
So
I'm saying spouse and God forbid child, but I don't know that.
Immediate family member.
Okay, immediate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right.
frankly, it doesn't happen that often. We're talking maybe three.
We'd also have to know. I mean, so
A lot of times we don't.
yeah, not everyone's going to share, if their mother-in-law dies or something. So there's that aspect too.
So you're
have
saying
to know.
seated council members and spouses or children and employees and spouses and children. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. All right. Now, just one other thing. Okay. Not because I hold this position, but I was also thinking, what about past mayors? I know that's really weird, but no, I mean, I'm thinking.
Well, you're just going to stay mayor forever, so we won't have.
No. I'm thinking Jen Olson, Cheryl Fisher, who else is that I know? Paul Pond. There's a few other, not many, but a few other.
Wonderful.
I just think, and I know Cheryl Fisher served for like 15 years, and I don't know if Wally Clevenger is even living. I don't know. But if we know of a passing of a past mayor, especially like Jen, she didn't serve very long as mayor, but she served for like 30 years in the Senate, So I just think it's a show of respect.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to die very soon, hopefully, but you never know. So if we could add that.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, thank you.
Yeah. And you guys, you all see this on, the claims, so we can get some real-time feedback, but I think we have pretty clear direction.
All right.
The next section is for to recognize the service of the city staff. So this is kind of for the employee recognition program that we generally have in like December. And that will not exceed $1,000. The other piece to this is we've had some of our partners like Kennedy and Graven and WSB and A2S donate funds directly to the city. Like they're sitting in our coffers right now. This allows us to expend them on that employee recognition. So I don't know. Right now our our event that we have right now, I don't know how many people have RSVP'd, but Gary's Public Works guys don't hop on the computer that often to respond. So, but we generally have that annually. So that's what that section is for. I don't know if we want to discuss that at all.
You know, we used to have, this was, probably more than 20 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. Anyhow, we used to actually have a employee recognition, and you might remember, and I think we actually designated an Employee of the Year award. And I think they got like $500 or something. Okay. You know, and so if this $1,000 and you have, I mean, if you said 500 is an Employee of the Year recognition, would that be something you'd want to consider?
Why did it stop last time?
Because of not having a policy.
What if the same person gets it every year?
Who's voting on this?
I
don't want anyone quitting because,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people keep
Sketchy.
getting it and other
Yeah.
ones don't.
I don't think you could get it.
The hardest part was I think it was associated with like a merit pay program, and I would dissuade against
Okay.
that.
I'm
Because
just
people would
throwing it out.
apply, and then you'd have to go above and beyond, and then
Right.
you'd have, I mean, maybe if it's an Employee of the Year, one person that's gone above and beyond, or that's recognized, that'd be okay, but maybe not a whole. I think that was when it got shut down. It's like 10 people were getting merit pay at an extra $500 a pop.
No, I wasn't going to say merit pay. Yeah.
Well, and
And if it's not a good idea, that's fine. I just
don't know how you pick an employee.
there was like a criteria, and it was like if you made suggestions that saved the city money or something like that. I mean, there was a list of criteria, and then an employee would apply, and then I think department heads, maybe even, or the council or whatever. I can't remember who actually decided. Do
Could
you
we just do a
remember?
drawing every year for them? And then once you nominate it?
I mean, and we have a small enough workforce where that might,
Yeah.
happen. But I would agree with Brian's. It's tough to do. It's
Yeah,
tough to
okay.
implement, and there's hard feelings. But
Okay.
the $1,000 we came to that it comes out to about $25 a head, which if we cater food in, that's about what it costs. And then
Okay.
what we generally do is if we need additional funds, then the directors all pitch in.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that works. And then it just has a very clear statement that we can't use these funds for any purchase of alcohol.
Oh, darn it.
Yeah. So, and that's it for this policy.
Oh,
So we're looking for feedback on this. If
Need to include the now legal gummies and other sort of things in that statement.
I mean, we can put. I mean, I don't think we would ever do that, but we could put that in there if you'd like.
If it's held at a facility or something, then it's a cash bar.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the statement. If it's held at a facility other than non-intoxicating beverages are cash purchase.
There you go. Yeah, so we're looking for some feedback. If we want to proceed with this, we'd bring it forward on the December 2nd meeting.
Okay.
And then it would go into effect. I'd like it to go into effect that meeting because we have our employee recognition event coming up on the 12th. And as I mentioned, we have received donations from some of our partners for that event.
So does that have to be spelled out in the policy that if we receive donations from, is it? I'm sorry.
The city may utilize additional community donations.
Okay, there you go. All right, thank you. All right,
So that's all I have. I'll entertain any questions.
I'm good.
we're good. We gave you our feedback. You've
All
got it, so we're good.
Thank you very much.
Bring it back on the 2nd?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So
Next.
now we're on Gillespie.
Okay. Actually really nervous because this is become something I'm actually so very passionate about. And I was going to not say what I'm about to say, but I thought it still says "In God We Trust" on our coins. So I think it was actually a tremendous blessing that you all turned down my request last time I spoke, because I have spent the last few weeks really digging into this, and I've completely flipped the switch on how I'm going to go about my ask this time. And I think it was also an incredible blessing to see all those numbers on the parks and trails. The money we spend in the city on those things is mind-boggling. And our senior center is a vital asset to our community. And we are the Westonka community. That's kind of how I think most of us think about this community. But what Rhonda, welcome Rhonda, what we asked for was really table scraps. And the time that I've spent really looking into this, I just pulled up 25 cities quickly that are close by that fully fund their senior centers. Many of them are much smaller than Minnetrista, and they fully fund their community centers. When I went into this, when you all asked me to go on this board, I would assume you wanted me to do so to affect change. And we've done that. In fact, it's the first time in many years we actually are not going into the endowment, actually balanced budget. But the responsibility really lies on, I think, the surrounding cities. Right now, Mound is, thank goodness we have a tremendous mayor and excellent council. The cities, I'd give our city an A as far as how we're doing financially. Our neighbor is not anywhere near that, let's say a D and F. They are really struggling in Mound. They are still coming up with $6,000 to give to the Gillespie Center annually, and they're there every week doing work. What are we doing? I looked at these parks, what we're spending. How many people do you think went to the Jean Lanier Park today? Or will go to those parks for the next 4 months? I'm saying about none, very little. No one's going to be playing pickleball or tennis in November, December, and January. But 60 people went into the Gillespie Center today, and 60 people will go in tomorrow. These are our constituents. I know our parks and our playgrounds are important, but how many do we have? We have one senior center, and 60 people, 50 to 60 people go in there every day. We have a responsibility to them. And so now, I think, when I thought about what I would ask for from you, I think we need to give them $25,000. And I think that's nothing. I think we should say, thank you very much. Jasper, how much does LeSueur spend annually on their community center?
Well, so that they own and operate theirs.
Right.
And they have a budget of about $1.2 million.
And it's a community center.
It's a community
Yeah.
center, yeah.
Well, so is the Gillespie Center. Let's look at the pictures. It's a lot of people up there. And granted, there's not a swimming pool and there's not a playground, but nevertheless, it's there all year for people that need it. I think about Chief. We have phone calls that come into Minnetrista Police Department for, people falling in the middle of the night. The Gillespie Center offers wheelchairs and walkers and shower chairs and all kinds of free things and services. I can't imagine that it doesn't save our police department a few phone calls by the things that they offer. But nevertheless, $25,000 is 0.35% of our levy. It's not even half of a percent of our levy. I think this is a very reasonable amount. I think this is vital. It's our neighbor. Mound is the widow that threw in 2 coins. We're sitting here in this vibrant, thriving city. I think we can support this facility. I think it's our duty. In fact, I'd be really ashamed of us if we don't. So thank you for that extra time, for saying no the first time, because I'm much more convicted that this is something that we have a responsibility to support. And we've got some very exciting things happening there. I think I think in 5 years, this could be have an endowment that fully funds this wonderful organization. Right now we're at 2.5 million. We've got some big asks out there that might come through. But I'm asking you to reconsider this. Think about it. Look look at what page was that listed what we spend on parks. I mean, it boggles my mind. I feel like we're just caring for one part of our community and we're completely turning our backs on another. So if I've forgotten anything, Rhonda, come on up to the podium and add.
I would just add that we actually have fall prevention training.
Yeah, we do. We've just signed a contract for $85,000 for someone to use the facility on a regular basis. I mean, that's impressive. And we did this, I think, because we've really updated the look of that building and the inside and the outside. There's more to do because nothing has been done really in 25 years. I'd like to ask for $25,000 before this year ends because there's a great big board as you walk into the Gillespie Center that shows people that gave 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 25 years ago. I'd like Minnetrista to be,
We should be on that board,
yeah, from how many?
on that board.
Right,
We gave over $460,000.
I know.
So here's what we did, just so you know. We gave $34,000 for 10 years. If you take that $340,000 and you add 3% of interest over the past 10 years, we actually gave the Gillespie Center about $460,000 over the past 10 years. So it's not like a small trinket. It's not like a small trinket at all. But I do have a few questions. One, have you asked the Rotary and the Northwest Lions for any funding?
Yes.
And what have they said?
Well, they said yes.
And how much have
are they
they-
giving, Rhonda?
The Northwest Lions gives us about $100,000 a year. They also, it's part donation, part grant.
Yeah,
Okay, and the Rotary? I mean, have you asked them?
no, our Rotary doesn't really.
The WCC.
Oh, the West Tonka Community? No, the Rotary.
No, the Rotary. That might be another avenue for some.
I don't believe our Rotary has.
So I can share a couple things with you.
Sure.
So one, you're a 501c3, you're a private organization, okay? We have other 501c3 private organizations that are fabulous in our community. I mean, right in our city, that could potentially come and say the exact same thing that you're saying. And I get it. I don't disagree. We have a fabulous golf course that's a 501c3 that offers very reasonable membership fees and social fees, and people can go there, and it's a fabulous organization. They could come and say, well, if you're going to give the Gillespie Center, $25,000, why can't you give us something? The other thing is we have a lot of other 501c3s and or very, very good organizations in our community. But that's beside the point, because as much as we want to give to these organizations, we have to be held to a higher standard. We have to be held to a legal standard. And so we would have to turn to our legal counsel to say, what is it that we can actually give to an organization like that? We can't just give you money for rent. We can't give you money for administration. We can't give you money for a lot of things, for a lot free lunches or whatever. We can only give money for an actual service that's provided for seniors. But that's number one. Sarah, you'd have to weigh in on that, and maybe you can give us a brief synopsis of that.
Well, sure.
Because we have to be legal.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, as the mayor is saying, we have to make a public purpose expenditure. And since we're a statutory city, all those are laid out in statute somewhere. There is a statute that says that a city may appropriate money to support the facilities, programs, and services of a public or private, not-for-profit senior citizen center or youth center. And it doesn't go into details about what that would entail. Cities are also authorized to spend funds to operate programs of public recreation, recreational facilities, and playgrounds. And those can be done independently or with any nonprofit organization. So I think those are kind of the two statutes that you would be bringing the donation under.
Well, that would be exactly what we're asking for. And we've done it for 10 years legally. I think we can.
At that time it wasn't, but.
I'm sorry?
No, never mind.
So I think we owe it to the community to do it again.
So when we did.
And excuse me if I may, Madam Mayor, I run a 501c3. I wouldn't begin to go to the city and ask for money. It's a specific cause. It's, it's not a city responsibility. Caring for our seniors and for marginalized people in the community is our responsibility. There's no comparison. A golf course, no comparison.
I'm just saying. So here's the other thing that we, as elected officials, have to look at. When this contract was signed back in the day, which I wasn't on the council at the time, I heard from residents, they were outraged. How dare you take my tax dollars and give them to an organization? There was a lot of, yes, the seniors obviously really would like that. And obviously they're totally on board with that, or not all of them even, but many of them, yes, you're correct. And it is a good organization. I'm not saying that at all, but we also have to answer to the other, 70% of individuals that live in our community that aren't seniors and that say, well, why are you giving this much money to them? With the parks, we're not using tax levy dollars. We're using park dedication funds that have come to us via developments. So we're not levying for those dollars right now. And we're hoping not to have to levy for dollars for our parks. And that's why we can spend what we're spending on parks. Because I agree, if we were spending, $100,000 on parks every year, levying for that, then why not include some funding for seniors? I agree, but right now we're not. So now we'd have to go to our constituents and we'd have to say, oh, by the way, we're levying another $25,000 to give to seniors.
So we didn't spend $150,000 on the Jean Lanier Park?
That's from park dedication fees we get from like Woodland Cove when they come in and take the land.
See.
They pay so much into park fees, and that's what goes into the park fund specifically.
And it has to be used for parks only.
Yeah.
We can't use it for anything
Well,
else.
from what I understand from our attorney, this is something we can support. And
So what we'd have to, sure.
I'll come up here, sorry. So thank you for the conversation. I do want to just add that when I presented here a few months ago, when I started at the beginning of the year, we intentionally created a new vision and mission, which really is intentional to be open to all communities. It is, Bill Gillespie founded it as a senior center, and for many years they ran it as a senior center,
Right.
and they had a contract with a company called Senior Community Services. We've intentionally went away from that and are trying to broaden it, because what we're finding is that today's seniors want a place to bring their families, and they want intergenerational opportunities. So we're trying to move our programming in that way, right? So I just wanted to add that, because it's not just solely focused on seniors.
well, it's seniors.
And Rhonda, you did a great presentation and made that clear. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yep.
I have a question. Why then do we have a representative here at the Gillespie Center if we are not supporting?
It's really embarrassing.
Well, so for 10 years, as we were contributing, then part of the contract says that we had to have a representative.
And that's indefinite? Then?
No, we could have stopped it at any time. So we could have stopped it in 2022, 2023. Our last payment was in 21. So we could have stopped it. We could have just said, okay, we're not going to have a representative now in 2022 for the last 2 years. We could have done that. But according to the agreement and according to the contract, we were supposed to have a representative. Quite frankly, there were a lot of things in the agreement that probably weren't done. So.
And we're happy to readdress the entire agreement, right?
We're not going to have an agreement. I'll guarantee you that. But you weren't here, Rhonda. You weren't there, but there were a lot of things that weren't done. For instance, they had said that they will have $3 million in their endowment fund, and the endowment fund going forward would fund the Gillespie Center.
Mhm.
And do you know where your endowment fund balance is today?
It's at $2.5 million.
So it's,
$2.5 million.
yeah,
But
it's close.
we're really growing. I mean, we have been bringing in, this is why I'm on this board now. I mean, we're doing amazing things. I would like to see the city support it. And what am I doing there? I mean, you asked me to be there. Now I am all in. I'm not going to list the many, many donations I brought in the last couple months. But this is our responsibility. I feel passionately about that. And again, our neighbor needs help. And this is our community. And we have the means to do this. So
I will add personally, I'm a Minnetrista resident and I live in Turtle Creek. And I was surprised once I started working there, how many of my neighbors came in and used the center. I was shocked. For whatever reason, my perception going into it was more for underprivileged people. I don't know, that was probably wrong, but I was shocked. Not that Turtle Creek is affluent, but it's not underprivileged, right? So,
And I'm not arguing that. I'm not saying that people don't use it and that it's not a good facility. That's not the issue at all, because I think, especially since you've come on board, I think you've made some very, very positive changes. That's not it at all. It's a matter of saying, okay, if we're going to contribute, whether it's 10,000 or 25,000 for 2025, well, we're not going to do it in 2020 this year. It's not even in the budget, and we'd have to change our budget. And at this point in the year, I don't know that we can. And for next year, we've already set the levy. We just discussed the levy at our, just recently, and we all decided, okay, we're going to keep it at the 9.44. So if we can't increase the levy for next year, so that money would have to come from somewhere. So my question is, if that's what the council wants to do, where do you want to cut? What do you want to cut in order to make that happen?
where could we cut it?
That would actually be our decision. That would have to be a council decision.
Okay.
The council,
We're not even balanced up for 2024 if our revenues are going to come in, our building permits, and we don't even know if we're going to come in at a deficit this year or whatever. So it's not a great time in the process to be adding
right.
to the budget, but council obviously has that direction.
And that's why I said, I didn't dismiss it, but that's what I said. It's, for this year, we can't do it. And for 2026 budget, we would have those discussions next year. And if that's the council's direction, they want to add something in for 2026, that would have to be part of those budget discussions.
I thought, and I have now asked this multiple times, our attorney saying that this is something we can go outside of our budget because it's a senior center. Okay, how did I miss that?
If I may, state statute allows us to expend tax dollars on a senior facility. So we still have to budget for it. We still have to collect those levy dollars, and then we have to expend them to the facility. So there's nothing saying that we have to do it. It's our choice.
But we have the choice.
We do.
Thank you.
Right. But it would have to come out of the budget.
Seems to me it's a good idea, and I'm not sure on the exact dollars, but it's not a huge amount relative to our overall budget. And I'm just wondering if there's something that we could do in 2025 to at least get it going, and then look at it seriously for 2026. Seems like it's supporting an important constituency that I'll probably be a part of pretty soon.
Same.
I'd like to take that.
I mean, the chief might start going there once he retires.
And Peter, that's what I'm talking about, is that discussion would have to happen in 2026 for 2025 for 2026.
No, I get that, but I'm thinking that's.
And if you want to do it in 25, we have to cut something.
Right, and maybe there are a few things that we
I
could
think we
just
could sit and
adjust.
talk about it. I think this is that important.
So what would you recommend cutting? I just recommended cutting our CIP by 50,000, and I got a no. So, okay, so, and
Not taking roads or CIP money.
so I guess the question is, what are our priorities? And if you want to if the council wants this as a priority, then we have to cut something else. And I think right now we would have to actually get a feel for the community. I can tell you,
I've got a feel for the community.
I do
I'm
too.
talking every day.
I do too, and I've heard, do not take my tax dollars that, if I want to contribute to the Gillespie Center, I will contribute to them. But I don't think, so we're getting different messages. That's fine. Different people, different age groups. But what I think we need to do is have this as a discussion in 2025 for 26, unless you want to come up with a suggestion where we
Well,
cut.
Can
I'm,
I make a suggestion?
yes, please.
When we get the final numbers of where we came in 2024, so early 2025, if they're over, then we could possibly make an early year donation if we have the extra money from the budget. If the investments came in higher and we got more money that way, that might be a good time to do it. I've never been in the Gillespie Center. I thought it was for old people. I fully admit that. Honestly, I wouldn't have time to go in there even if I didn't think it was for that. But I fully understand that you want to give money to it. I'm also in the boat of Lisa where if I want to donate to a charity, I want my money to go there. I don't want my tax dollars going there. So with that in mind, and since Ann is not here, I think the best bet is to wait till we get the finals from 2024, see where we came in with the building permits and the money, and if there is extra money in the budget that was not allocated already, that would be a good time to look at doing a early year donation if there is money.
I think besides that, I'm sorry, but I'm going to need more information. Because there's a lot of questions here that I would have that aren't answered in this. For instance, when we say that we can contribute to facilities, does Minnetrista want to contribute to a facility that's located in Mound? That's one thing. Or do we want to just contribute to services? That's what I would recommend. If we're going to contribute, it has to be for services and not to the building, because the building is not physically in Minnetrista. The other thing is, I would want to know what services do you offer and what is the cost of those services? What are you asking for? So if you're asking for $12,000, what services are costing you $12,000? What are we paying for? We're paying for income tax preparation. How much is that? We're paying for, those type of things. I think we need to have a breakdown of that so that we know what we're contributing to. And the other thing is, I think we need to have a spreadsheet. We need to have your financials so we can actually clearly see. I mean, that was part of the contract that was 10 years long. And I think we got the financials a couple of times.
They usually were provided after, a lot of times there'd be an extension on the 990. And I
Right.
think we got them most years, but it was definitely an ask. It wasn't
So,
provided really.
we'd want to see that. And then we'd want to also see a more detailed, you have your expenses of $330,000. We, again, kind of break that down for us.
And Claudia has all that.
Right.
She gets that every month.
Right, because then at least we can go to our residents and we can say, this is what we're paying for. We're paying for this service, and this service, and this is what they're providing for our seniors, and these are their costs, and that's why we're supporting it. But right now, I don't think we have enough information to do that. And we may, hopefully, by the beginning of the year, if we have a little excess, then we can do that.
Do we have to wait till the beginning of next year? Can we meet at
No.
the next meeting in December?
Well,
No, we won't really know until we close the books after
I see.
December
December.
31st, and
Right.
that takes a little bit of time. It kind of lines up with our 2024 financial audit, which we get done.
I mean,
May.
we'll have an unofficial, we'll have an unofficial
Official.
number in
Yeah.
January.
Because this is now 25 years old. They've done nothing to, the boiler is,
But you did have an endowment for CIP. There was a $500,000 endowment for CIP. Was there not?
I don't know what CIP is.
Capital improvement plan?
Oh, yeah.
I think there was,
Yes.
right. And so.
but we're trying to keep,
We're trying not to touch that.
trying not to touch that. We're
But
trying to
that's,
get.
but that's what I'm saying. We have to go to our taxpayers and say, oh, but they need a new boiler, but they have $500,000 in the bank that they could use. We have to know these things.
I understand it, but did you hear the part where most cities in this state are funding their senior centers?
There, yes, there.
We are not. So I think we just say, gee, thank you for not taking very much of our money. I think it's our responsibility. and you drive through Mound to get to the other side of Minnetrista. I mean, 110 years ago, that was Minnetrista. It is the West Tonka community. And I mean, these numbers, I can get these numbers. I can get every detailed number you want. But I just would like to appeal to our common sense that we have lots of parks, lots of trails. This is one area where we are neglecting.
Okay. And we'll, like, I think
Thank you.
we'll take a look at this and bring it back probably sometime in January.
February.
It'd probably be
I mean,
first meeting in March, potentially.
Okay.
It generally take about 60 days to close out all the funds, get every receipt, all that stuff. So that's about the timing we'll know for sure what our surplus or deficit.
we just want to be good financial stewards and be able to give prepared or good information versus rushed information. And well, I mean, I can't see when another 2, 3, 4 months is gonna, how urgent it is, but I
Right.
guess I could be persuaded.
And in the meantime, staff can let you know what they want, what information they need.
Got it. Thank you for listening.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rhonda.
You bet.
All right. Besides, we have a new council member coming on board, and who knows, maybe that'll make a big difference too, one way or the other. But I think that's a good suggestion that Kathleen made. So with that, I think we are done with our agenda for our work session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin and Mr. Vickery. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. We are adjourned until 7 o'clock at our regular meeting. Thank you.
It's a long day.
Yes.